Hello and welcome to the first remote play review, a new series I will be attempting to do, where we discuss and review the aspect of the remote play feature in the PlayStation 4 and how it interacts with specific games. So without further ado, let's get started. The first game we will be doing, as you can probably tell, is inFAMOUS Second Son. Now, before we go in too deep into anything, these are the controls as the game would tell you they are. It relabels some of the things when you are using remote play, so it can get a little confusing. And so I created this. These are what they actually translate to on the PS4's DualShock 4 controller, just to make it a little easier. Okay, now one of the first things you'll notice with the game while you're playing it on the Vita screen is that the colors seem a bit off, which originally I thought it was just my mind, but they actually are off. I'm not fully sure why, but it does seem to just be a thing with remote play. Not a thing that really ruins the experience, but it's just weird. Now, you guys can't see it on the screen because, unfortunately, you see what the PS4 would be displaying on the TV rather than what the Vita is showing. I can't record that part of it. But the gameplay is always going to be played during remote play and then just using the share button, or rather the select button on the Vita. Another thing graphics wise is that obviously this is going to be a little downgraded from its full display on the PS4. After all, the Vita screen is only about 900 something, if I remember correctly, 950, somewhere around there, pixels. So obviously that's going to be a little downgraded. After all, inFAMOUS does run at a full 1080p, so you're not going to have as much definition in some things, but that's not as big of a problem because it's not as big of a screen, so you're not really going to miss it. Now, functionality wise, the game actually works better than I expected. Now, one of my big concerns is going to be the sticks, as it often will be with remote play on games. After all, these sticks are just not as good as the DualShock 4, so obviously something that's designed to work with sticks that are a lot better it's gonna be a little rougher when you're moving to something like the Vita's nubs. But they actually got it to work pretty well. I didn't actually have a problem from the sticks. Now obviously all the face buttons work pretty well. Didn't really have any issue with those. Although there is an the only other real issue I have come into contact with is with using the missile style attacks, or rather the attacks bound to the R1 button on the DualShock 4. Now, on here, on the Vita, it is bound to the bottom right-hand corner of the touch screen. At first, I was happy that they didn't use the default controls for the Vita and have it bound to the top right corner of the back touchpad, which I am very thankful for that it is not used at all in this game. Now, I do believe they could have made a little bit of use for it, but especially with this, but the default way of using it is crap. It's just too area sensitive for something you can't see. So I'm glad that they mapped all four of the L2, R2, L3, R3 functions to the four corners of the front touch screen, and they used the center area of the touch screen as the touchpad. This actually works pretty well. I can use the grenades easily, And for the most part, I can use the missiles easily, even though, unfortunately, using the phosphor, I forget what the exact name of it is, the missile attack for the neon powers, is a little difficult to use due to the fact that you need to charge it up, which means on the Vita you're gonna be practically only able to aim in just one direction until that thing fires off. Which some enemies, especially the DUP, don't like to stay in one spot. Now, one issue I have found is, well, thankfully solved due to some action by the developers, comes from the use of the unlimited, or not unlimited, rather non-capped frame rate that is active by default in the game. Thankfully, due to the update that added in photo mode, you can also set it to have a 30 FPS limit, which if you're going to use remote play, I would highly recommend, because I have noticed that it can cause some jumpiness in the frame rate. But that problem doesn't show up if you use the 30 FPS limit. All in all, though, I'd say, surprisingly, Infamous Second Son works really well with remote play. In fact, I actually have already started doing an entire playthrough of the game using remote play only, and it's actually going really good. So now here I'm going to give it a score of how it works. Instead of going from like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, I'm just going to do 1 to 3. 1 doesn't work, 2 sort of works, but it still really isn't all that good. So, something that you really wouldn't want to, but could still do it if you were crazy. And 3 works pretty damn well. In Second Son case, I'm going to give it a 3 because it really does work pretty damn well. You could easily be in another room playing Second Son and still have a really good time with it. Hell, I have played it while taking a shit. Alright, peace out.